about the weft knitted structure, that is the structure of single jersey fabric and the structure of rib fabric. Rib is one of the double jersey fabric. So we have discussed the schematic diagram of these structures, how those structures are formed in the knitting machines with the help of needle, sinker, and the other knitting elements, the various properties of those fabrics, as well as application of the single jersey and rib fabric. So now we shall continue to the next structure, that is the interlock structure. So interlock structure is also one double jersey structure. So double jersey structure require two beds for the fabric formation. So therefore it is written here, machine has two beds. Machines may be flat or circular, but generally circular. So machines may be flat bed machines such as V-bed machine, or circular machines. Circular machines may have the cylinder type or cylinder dial type. Okay, but generally circular bed machines, cylinder or cylinder dial type machines are popular than that of the flat bed machines. So particularly those machines are called interlock machine. Okay, you know the difference between the interlock and rib. Okay, the rib machines are rib knitting machines, interlock machines are interlock jersey knitting machines. So they are different structure and they can be prepared in different machine. But in interlock machine you can be able to prepare rib jersey also. That already I mentioned in my last lecture. So there are two subsets of needles are required in each bed. It is very important to understand there are two subsets of needles in each bed. Okay, earlier in rib knitting machine you have seen there are one set of needle each bed. They are in each bed. I am showing you here two beds are cylinder and dial is shown. In cylinder there is one set of beds or one set of needles. Okay, in cylinder there are one set of needle. This is one set of needle. Okay, which are making the front loops only. In the dial there is only one set of needle which are making the back loops only. But in case of interlock knitting machine, in each bed there are two sets of needle. One set is short needle, another set is long needle. So short needle and long needles are there in each bed. Okay, in cylinder and dial. Okay, there means there are four set of needles are required. Okay, the two sets of cam systems are also required. For running the short needle, one cam is required, and for running the long needles, another set of cam is required. That is, cam path in each bed accommodates short and long needles of the corresponding beds. Needles in two beds face each other. Okay, this is important point. The needles in two beds face each other. This is the important feature. By this feature, you can be able to identify the interlock gating also. Okay, in case of rib gating, the needles are not facing each other. There is a staggering position of the needle. So one needle can clear through the space between the other two needles which are situated in other bed. Short needles in one bed face the long needles in the other bed. Okay, the short needle in one bed of the interlock knitting machine is facing the long needles of the another bed. That means the short needles of the cylinder will face the long needles of the dial and vice versa. Short needles in one bed make loops in conjunction with the short needles in the other bed. That is also important to understand. The short needles of one bed make loops in conjunction with the short needles in the other bed, whereas the long needles in one bed makes loop in the conjunction with the long needles of the other bed. Okay, so these things you must know to understand how the interlock structure is made in an interlock knitting machine. So here you can see this is the schematic notation of the interlock structure, where you can see the one loop is facing the other loop. Okay, there is no clearance between the loops. Okay, this thread of white color thread and the black color thread, they will facing each other because of the typical needle gating. The needles are facing each other. So this white thread is actually, if made by or if this loop is made by the short needle of cylinder, then this black thread is made by the long needle of the dial. Okay, because the short needle is facing to the long needle of the dial. Okay, now this is the these are the notation. This is the symbolic notation, and this is the diagrammatic notation, and this is the schematic notation. Okay, so all these three notations are shown here. So this type of line diagram is very difficult to draw because it is complicated one. Okay, it is better to understand, but very difficult to draw. Okay, so the simpler technique is to draw this type of schematic diagram. Okay, this is the schematic diagram here. This is the face loop, two face loop, and face loop, two face loop and two back loop are there. Now here you can see two threads are required for making a interlock structure. Two threads, 1 and 2. This white color and black color. Okay, here this is one thread and this is another thread. Two threads are required. Minimum two threads are required for making an interlock structure, whereas a single thread is sufficient for making rib structure. Okay, though rib is also double jersey fabric, but rib fabric can be prepared by a single thread. Now you can see now the needles how they are situated in cylinder and dial. Okay, in cylinder there are two sets of needle already I have mentioned. Okay, a short needle and long needle. A set of short needle. This is short needle and this is short needle, and this is long needle and this is long needle. So there will be alternative of short, long needles. They are in the cylinder. Similarly like dial. Okay, long, short needles are there. So the long needles are controlled by one cam and short needles are controlled by another cam. Okay, in both in dial and cylinder. So because the movement of the needles, okay, of short needles and long needles in both cylinder and dial will be different. Okay, it is required to be different. Otherwise, then the fabric structure cannot be made. Now, how they will move? What will be the movement during the interlock getting or interlock structure formation of the fabric? So that is very interesting to understand. Okay, this part you need to go through from the book. In any textbook, you will have the description how the interlock structure has been prepared. In fact, you need to understand this mechanism for rib knitting also. Rib knitting, interlock and purl knitting I shall discuss later on. Okay, the mechanism of fabric formation in rib jersey machine, interlock machine and the purl machine. And single jersey, for the case of single jersey, the mechanism of loop formation by the lace needle already I have discussed in my previous class. Okay, now it is your home task. You have to learn it. This is also in your syllabus, but I shall not discuss here. Now this is I left for your self understanding and self reading. Okay. Now separate yarns are to be supplied to short needle and long needle. Separate yarns are required. So as there are one set of short needle and another set of long needle, so minimum two threads are required for feeding the short needles and for feeding the long needles separately. Short needles and long needles don't make loops simultaneously but with a time gap. This is also important to know. There is a time gap between the working of the short needle and long needle. They will not act simultaneously. Okay, there will be a phase difference between their action. Loop made by one set of needle are locked by the loop made by the other set of needle. So this is another important point. Loop made by short needles are actually locked by the loops made by the long needle. So that's why this structure is particularly called as interlock structure. So interlocking is important. Due to this interlocking, the fabric is most robust in nature, strongest in nature. Extensibility is poor than that of the rib knitting. The fabric is dimensionally more stable, okay, than that of the rib structure and interlock structure. There will be no curling tendency. Those properties I shall discuss later on also. Each interlock course is composed of two rib cores. Okay, basically two rib courses are there in a single interlock course. Okay, that also you can see from the schematic diagram here. Okay, so if you just take this thread only, okay, this is actually a presentation of a rib jersey, a course of rib jersey. But when you will another uh, course will draw in this way, so both the course will interlock together to form a single course of a interlock jersey. Okay, so in interlock jersey basically is composed of two courses of a rib jersey. Okay, that's why you can say the interlock structure is made of the combination of two rib structure. Minimum 2 yarns are needed to produce a fabric. Fabric has double-faced as well as very stable structure. Fabric has double-faced. That means both front and back is looking similar because in both front and back only the face loops are visible. The back loops are hidden inside the structure. Okay, that's why this kind of fabric is called double-faced fabric and very stable. I mentioned why the structure is stable because of the interlocking. The loops are locked. Okay, so each and every loops are locked by the face loops are locked by the back loop and back loops are locked by the face loop. So that's why the structure is very stable. Fabric surface is smooth. Okay, due to the locking and due to the even distribution of the loops, both front and back, the structure is very smooth, smoother than the single jersey and rib. Fabric is equally thicker to rib but much more compact. The thickness of the interlock fabrics are equal to that of the rib fabric but much more compact because in the same space more amount of yarn is accommodated. If thickness is same with that of the rib there are double amount of threads are present in the same space, same thickness in the interlock fabric. That's why the fabrics are more compact in nature. Fabric neither curls nor ladder. Curling is not possible because the fabrics are dimensionally stable. The curling, which is one of the nuisance in case of single jersey fabric, that is not occurring in interlock jersey. Okay, not laddering. Laddering tendency is not there. Laddering will not happen. If the thread is broken, any thread is broken inside the knitted structure, there will be the no disintegration of the structure. Okay, and there will be no laddering. Like rib, interlock can be made of different combination of needle getting. So you can use different combination of needle getting, and by changing the combination of needle getting, you can also uh, obtain various varieties, or you can say derivatives of the interlock jersey. Interlock fabric made from 2 into 2 needle getting is known as 8 lock fabric. Okay, if there are 2 into 2 needle getting, that means that is the 8 lock fabric. There are 8 sets of needle. 1 into 1 needle getting having 4 sets of needle. 2 sets of short needle and 2 sets of long needle. That is called 4 lock fabric. Where the interlock fabric is made by 2 into 2 needle getting. That is 8 lock fabric because there are 4 sets of short needles and 4 sets of long needles. Okay, total 8 loops in a unit of interlock in a course. Interlock course is there. Okay. That's why it is called 8 lock fabric because there are 8 needles are participating for forming a course. Okay, that's why 8 loops are there in a single course. That's why it is called 8 lock fabric. Machine is complicated and costly. Most complicated machine it is because the structure is complicated. Fabrics are dimensionally stable, heavy and costly. So this is it is the costlier fabric. Interlock structure is the costlier fabric. Now come to the features of purl knitting. Okay, this is the another double jersey fabric. Okay, so machines are having two beds. Machines may be flat or circular. Okay, there is only one set of needles. We change the bed in alternative knitting cycles. So this is important to understand. One set of needle is there only. Okay, that one set of needle is actually shared by the two beds. Okay, the same needle after completion the knitting action in the dial, it will be transferred to the cylinder for the completion of the knitting in the next cycle. Okay, so this is the important. The needles are specially double hooked latch needles. This type of needles are there in the purl knitting machine. Same needle is having the double hook. Okay, in the hook in both end. Okay, hooks and latch are there in the both end because this hook if used for the making the loop formation at the cylinder position, this hook will be used for making the loop in dial position. Okay, so there will be a slider. The slider will help to slide this needle from cylinder to dial and dial to cylinder. Okay, so needles are special type, generally double hooked lash needles are used. Needles are shifted from one bed to another bed with the help of slider. Two sliders are needed for each needle. Two sliders are needed because one slider will push it from dial to cylinder, another slider will push it from cylinder to dial, back. Some needles make face loop in one bed and back loop in another bed. So this is the mechanism, and this is the line diagram, and this is the schematic diagram. You can see, okay, you can see there is the the alternation of the face loop and back loop in course-wise direction. Okay, that will produce horizontal rib, okay, or horizontal lines. Whereas in case of rib jersey, there will be the vertical rib or vertical lines. In case of pearl knitting, there will be the horizontal rib or horizontal lines due to the alternation of face loop and back loop in alternative course. Okay, now knitting mechanism is shown here by this figure. Now you need to go through this mechanism from the book. Okay, in any textbook you will see the knitting mechanism. Okay, important points I already mentioned. You can see there is a needle which is there in the front bed, and the same needle will be transferred to the back bed. Okay, the beds will be like this. In case of flat bed knitting machine, the same needle will be slided to the back bed after completion of the knitting cycle. At the front bed, the needle will make the front loop. At the back bed, the needle will make the back loop. So in this way, after completion of the course, a single course in a front bed, when all front loops will be prepared, in the next knitting cycle, the same needle will prepare the back loop. Okay, so a course of back loop will be prepared. So in this way, there will be the horizontal stripe or alternation of the front loop and back loop is formed. Alternative courses are made of all face loop and all back loop. As a result, each well is made of face loop and back loop in alternative order. Fabric has horizontal corrugation or rib appearance on the surfaces that is opposite to the rib fabric. Already I have mentioned. Fabric is reversible in appearance and has soft handle. The fabric is reversible in appearance because in the both front and back the appearance is same, and very softer in handle because of the high extensibility, and there is a series of loops which are present in a course. So the fabrics are very soft and bulky. Fabrics has very high extensibility in length direction because there is the alternation of the course. That's why in the length direction the extensibility is very high, whereas in rib jersey the structure is just, you can say, the reverse structure, where in the widthwise direction the extensibility was high, making it suitable for kids wear. So this high extensibility in the lengthwise direction, the Purl fabrics are usually popular for preparation of the kids wear. Okay, because kids are growing. Okay, easily the shape and size of the kids are changing actually. So that's why for getting a better fit to the kids, the growing kids, the Purl fabrics are very popular or suitable because there is high extensibility in the lengthwise direction. So the kid which can wear the short size garment at this age, okay, the next year maybe the same garment can be extended to be fitted in the medium size. So that's why the Purl fabrics are generally suitable for the kids wear. Fabric does not curl at the edge because the alternation of the face and back loop usually produce a balanced structure. The knitting sequence of needle getting can be changed to produce rib and plain structure on one hand, and derivatives of the moss purl, basket pearls, etc. on the other hand. So needle getting is there. You can change the needle getting for preparing various derivatives of the pearl by the name. There are moss pearl, basket pearl, etc. They are the derivatives of the pearl knitting or pearl structure. So machines are very rare, but this kind of machines are very rare due to the low production rate and low product, because there are very few specific products are only prepared by the pearl knitting machine. So this table is showing A comparative analysis of these four knitting structure, web knitting structures: plain, rib, purl, and interlock. So plain 1:1 rib, 1:1 rib is the basic rib structure, 1:1 purl, and 1:1 interlock structure. So interlock structure is generally not called as 1:1, but still you can understand it is 1:1 interlock structure. So by appearance, the plain fabric different in face and back, V shapes in face and arcs on back. Okay, already I mentioned, you can remember, in rib structure same on both sides like face and plain. Okay, similar in all cases, rib, purl, and interlock. Okay, they look similar in both face and back side. Extensibility, lengthwise extensibility moderate 10 to 20% in case of plain fabric, moderate rib in case of rib, in case of purl the extensibility is very high. Okay, but in case of interlock, moderate. So extensibility in lengthwise direction, plain, rib, and interlock jersey are similar, but in case of purl, lengthwise extensibility is very high. Okay, due to the alternation of the course. Okay, face loop and back loop in course-wise direction or lengthwise direction. Then width-wise direction, in case of plain, that is high, 30 to 50% extensibility. In case of rib, very high, more than 50%. But in case of purl and interlock, purl that is similar to the plain fabric, and interlock, in case of interlock, that is moderate, lower than the interlock and purl fabric. Area extensibility, moderate to high in case of plain, rib high, purl high, interlock moderate. So that means the area extensibility is similar to that of the width-wise extensibility. Then thickness and warmth. Plain fabrics are thicker and warmer than plain woven made from same yarn with ends. Same yarn. Okay, the thickness is better or higher and warmer than that of the woven fabric. Okay, made of the same yarn. Whereas rib fabrics are much thicker and warmer than the plain knitted fabric. Okay, purl fabrics are also much thicker and warmer than the plain knitted fabric. Interlock fabrics are very much thicker and warmer than the plain knitted fabric. Unroving either ends. Okay, plain knitted structure can be unroved either ends, either from the starting point or the finishing point of the knitted fabric. Rib structures only unroved from the end knitted last knitted end. If it is unroved from the last knitted end, then only it can be unroved. Okay, purl fabrics are unroved at either end. Interlock fabrics only from the end knitted last. Curling, tendency to curl, no tendency to curl, no tendency to curl, no tendency to curl. Because the double jersey fabrics are dimensionally stable. Okay, that's why there is no tendency to curl, because the force balance has been maintained in case of double jersey fabric. End users. Plain knitted fabrics are used in inner garments, stockings, t-shirts, and dresses. Base fabric for coating. These are the applications of the plain or single jersey fabric. Rib fabrics are used for outerwear, socks, knitwear, underwear, collar, cuffs, waistbands in different garments where the high width-wise extensibility is required. Purl fabrics are used for children's clothing, knitwear, heavy outerwear. Okay, so basically for the children and infant wear, these purl fabrics are popular. Interlock fabrics are popular for making of underwear, trouser suits, shirts, dresses, sportswear, etc. Now this is the comparison between the rib and interlock knitting. The rib knitting takes place in double bed machine. Interlock also takes place in double jersey machine. One set of needles in each bed, two sets of needles in each bed, short and long needles. One cam track in each bed. Two cam tracks are required for running the short needles and long needles. Needles in two opposite beds are not faced to each other but in between them, whereas the needles in two beds are facing each other. Short needles will face the long needle and long needle will face the short needles. Each rib courses is made of one yarn. Each interlock courses is made of two yarns. Okay, so minimum two yarns are required for the interlock knitting, whereas a single yarn is sufficient for making rib jersey. Fabric has corrugation or rib appearance in length direction, no rib effect. Fabric surface is rough, fabric surface is smooth. Fabric is highly extensible, particularly in the widthwise direction, extensibility is less. Fabric is less compact and less dimensionally stable, highly compact and highly dimensionally stable. Machine is comparatively simpler and less costly. Machine is comparatively complicated and costly. Interlock knitting is not possible in rib machine, but rib knitting is possible in interlock machine. Now these are the popular extended double jersey fabric. Okay, so you can see 2x2 English or Swiss rib. This type of structure is called 2x2 rib. Okay, so in rib jersey you can remember there will be the alternation of the wales, face loop and back loop. Okay, alternation of face loop and back loop in whale-wise direction. So if it is a 2x2 rib jersey, so there will be the 2 face loop, 2 back loop, 2 face loop, 2 back loop. In this way, the structure will be prepared. Okay. Now 6x3 derby rib. Okay, where 6 face loop will be there, then there will be the 3 back loop. Okay, there will be continuous 6 face loops will be there. In whale there will be the 6 whales of face loop, then there will be the 3 whales of the back loop. Okay, in this way the repeat will run. Then 2x2 interlock or 8-lock structure, interlock structure. So there will be the 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down. That means 2 face loop, 2 back loop, 2 face loop, 2 back loop. Okay, but in the neighboring run, there will be opposite action. Okay, 2 back against the 2 face. Okay, then 2 face against the 2 back. So basically this 1 and 2 threads are required for forming a single course. This thread 1 and thread 2, they are combining to form a single course in a interlock structure. So in interlock structure, the 2 block are together to prepare a course. Okay, so this is the 2x2 8 interlock or 8-lock structure. In case of 1x1 lock structure, there will be the alternation of 1 face and 1 back. Whereas in case of 2x2, there will be the 2 face and 2 back. Now 4x4 basket purl. Okay, in purl you can remember there will be the alternation of the loops in course-wise direction. Okay, there will be the alternation in course-wise direction. Okay, so you can see 4x4 basket purl. You know the basket weave in case of oven structure. So here the 4 consecutive face loop will be there, then 4 consecutive back loop will be there. Okay, similarly here 4 consecutive back loop, then 4 consecutive face loop. So this is the 4x4 basket purl. So in this way you can find many design in book. So you just try to understand various designs which are there in the textbook for better understanding. So thank you. I have completed now this particular chapter, structure of weft knitted fabric. So what we have learned from this chapter, we have learned various schematic, symbolic and diagrammatic notation of these weft knitted structures such as single jersey or plain and double jersey. Among the double jersey there are 3 structure. They are the rib, interlock and purl. Among all these 4 structure, okay, we have discussed about their preparation method, their properties, their applications, their comparative analysis. Okay, I think the subject is pretty interesting to you. Now I shall advise for your reading from any textbook. I have shared also the textbook, so you just follow the textbook for further reading. Thank you. Happy learning.